opening remarks from Reed. Go ahead.
Thanks, Courtney. Well, that just happened. It's great to sit here and watch your mission go by in a short clip there. What an amazing journey that was. First and foremost, Victor, Christina, Jeremy, just thank you. Like, this was an unbelievable adventure, and it was made possible by this crew and the support of each other throughout the whole thing. And I've said it so many times, but we are bonded forever. I mean, that's the closest four humans can be and not be a family. So it was just an amazing adventure, and every single person on that crew lifted each other up the entire time. So I just can't thank the three of you enough.
Thank you.
While we're giving thanks, you're welcome. While we're giving thanks, as astronauts, I feel like we're just always thanking the team. We're always thanking the team. So I think today we're just going to start by thanking the world. Let's just thank the world, and let's break that down for 1 minute, and then I'll hand it back to Courtney. But this NASA organization and their international partners, they put together this amazing vehicle, the Orion spacecraft that we named Integrity atop the Space Launch System, riding to the moon on a European service module. They provided this massive structure that was able to push 4 humans around the moon and bring them safely back. So thank you to every single person that had a hand in building that machine, because it was a magnificent machine. But then we would also be remiss if we didn't thank the media, if we didn't thank the content creators, and if we didn't thank the world for just tuning in for a second and getting hooked on this mission. We were certainly hooked on this mission, but when we came home, we were shocked at the global outpouring of support, of pride, of ownership of this mission. And really, I think at the beginning, that's what the four of us wanted. We wanted to go out and try to do something that would bring the world together, to unite the world. And then I'll just wrap that all up with the astronauts' creed is always to launch as friends and land as friends. And when you live together in a small group for as long as you do on the space station, or even 10 days, it's a challenge. But I am here to tell the world, we launched as friends and we came back as best friends. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will begin taking questions. Due to the limited time we have today and the high volume of requests, we ask that media limit themselves to 1 question, please. We'll start here in the room with Will. Go ahead.
Hi, Will Robinson Smith with Spaceflight Now. It's wonderful to see you all again in person this time. Question for Reed, since you brought up the name of your spacecraft and announced it back in September when we last saw you here in person. Integrity, you mentioned, was not only the name of the spacecraft, but the ethos that you wanted to embody throughout the course of the training, the mission, and when you got back here on Earth. So I wonder, having spent 9+ days physically in Integrity, how you found yourself being in Integrity, emotionally and practically, as it was to exercise the spacecraft for the first time. Thank you.
Well, you addressed it to me, so I'll take it. We've talked a lot about integrity, and for folks that have followed us, there's a saying that we learned from one of our National Outdoor Leadership School instructors. Integrity is not a 1 or a 0. You don't either have it or not have it. You can be in integrity and you can be out of integrity. And I will tell you, I'll be the first to admit that there were moments on this mission where I was out of integrity, because sometimes the view or the human experience would just pull me away from the work. And it happens, and it's a beautiful thing to get to witness what we got to witness. But at the end of the day, you got to do the mission too. And so there were moments where I was out of integrity. There was moments where each of us would fall out for a second. But the coolest part of that word I was reflecting on last night, like, we named that spacecraft Integrity, and it just kind of coalesced this thread in the four of us. And whenever someone would slip out, it was amazing to watch the other three pull them back in. And what a glorious thing. Anybody want to add anything for Integrity? It's just such the perfect name for this group and this spacecraft.
We're going to take a few more questions here in the room and then go over to our phone bridge. Just a reminder for those on the phone bridge to please press *1 when you're ready to enter the queue. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Nick Notario with ABC 13. I want to talk to you all about the magnitude of what you all just did. So to give you some idea, ABC, on the splashdown coverage alone, 10 million people watched our network that day. Just splashdown. That's not the launch, the lunar flyby. And I got to tell you, one of those viewers was my daughter, Ellie, who turned 4 during your mission. And she was mesmerized by what you all were doing. She wasn't talking about her big Bluey birthday party. She wasn't talking about the gifts that she got. Every night I came home from JSC, she said, "Daddy, Ellie go to space." She was infatuated. When you hear stuff like that, and the amount of people that were interested in what you've done, has the gravity yet hit you about this mission? And, how has it changed you as well?
Great.
First, I just want to thank you for sharing that. That is wonderful to hear about your daughter. That's awesome, and thank her for that, creating that story. We landed on Friday. Tomorrow will be 1 week, and I just was trying to live in a little hole for 1 week. Been off social media, not on the news, so no, I don't know. But my kids have made it pretty clear, my neighbors, and it's hard to live in a bubble nowadays. I'm trying very hard, but I think it's what I've come to realize is we did what we said we were going to do, and now we've got to step out and just face that reality, and so that's a great thing. But I'll figure it out tomorrow. Courtney started this by saying the crew is ready. I'm really not, but I will be next week.
Do you mind if I add something?
Yeah. Please.
It's the way you word it. I mean, I love your question, but you say what you guys did, what the four of you did, and we just don't not see it that way. We should be rewording that question to what we did. That's what this was. We just went up and did what we were going to do. All we saw was a camera. We didn't have that connection with you. We lost that connection with Earth by and large. And so we just leaned into what we had. We leaned into each other and mission control, which is really all we had in our families a couple times. But we did that because we had been lifted up and supported to just go up there and be ourselves and just do our job. And we went into it thinking, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough. Seems like it was good enough.
I'll add a little bit, just my personal perspective. When I got back, as someone who doesn't necessarily like attention, I don't like the birthday song being sung to me, any of that. My husband said that before I got back, he had a conversation with my brothers and sisters, and they were like, who's going to tell her? Because we didn't know. And in fact, what we were told, really through talking with a couple times with our families, was that there was an impact. Not necessarily the number of viewers or anything like that, but that there was a positive impact, that it was superseding any lines, any identities that people had. And when my husband looked me in the eye on that video call and said, no, really, you've made a difference, it brought tears to my eyes, and I said, that's all we ever wanted. Yep. And I can tell you that the difference now is when we come before you now, we've done this together. We took your hearts with us, and your hearts lifted our hearts. And now that we've done it, I think it's easier to accept that there's attention on the NASA teams, on the fact that we did it. In the beginning, 3 years ago, we were being celebrated for something that we hadn't done. And having put in the work and having seen our team's successes, I think we're ready to share in that inspiration and to celebrate it.
Okay, we'll take two more here in the room and then head to our phone bridge. Kristen, go ahead.
Hi, Kristen Fisher with The Endless Void, and welcome home. It's been such a joy watching how much this mission has gotten people so excited about space. My question's a little bit deep, so bear with me. When Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell was returning from the moon, he had an experience so profound that when he returned to Earth, he devoted the rest of his life to studying the nature of human consciousness. And it's a theme that all four of you touched on to varying degrees at some point during the mission. And so my question is, now that you've been back on Earth for just a few days and had a little bit of time to sit with it, do any of you feel as though you had an experience similar to what Mitchell described, this sense of universal connectedness? And did you experience somehow a shift in consciousness somehow? Thanks.
Yes. Chris, it's a great question. The only thing I can do is just share one quick story. When I got back on the ship, I'm not really a religious person, but there was just no other avenue for me to explain anything or to experience anything. So I asked for the chaplain on the Navy ship to just come visit us for a minute. And when that man walked in, I'd never met him before in my life, but I saw the cross on his collar, and I broke down in tears. It's very hard to fully grasp what we just went through. And in these short, you just said it's been a week since we've been back, but it's been a week of medical testing, physical testing, doctors, science objectives. We have not had that decompression. We have not had that reflection time. So I'm basing this on what we saw. And when the sun eclipsed behind the moon, I think all four of us, I turned to Victor and I said, I don't think humanity has evolved to the point of being able to comprehend what we were looking at right now, because it was otherworldly and it was amazing.
The only thing I would add is that beautiful thing. First of all, thank you for sharing that. That was a really special moment. I was in the bed right across when the chaplain came in, and the only thing I would add is I am a religious person, but everything else is the same. There is something in there, and as we start to process, I'll have to tell you next week, but haven't had a chance to really unpack it all yet.
All right, we'll take one more here in the room and then head over to our phone bridge.
Yeah, maybe not as deep, but connected. Keith Garvin with KPRC2 here in Houston. Thank you so much for taking us on your journey, and so glad that you're home. You know, with the technology that we have today and what we can do with videos and pictures and social media, it can still be very hard for one to convey exactly what they're seeing to everyone else. What is the most remarkable, or one of the most remarkable experiences that you all had that just couldn't be fully properly conveyed through pictures and video? And that's for any of you.
I can start. I was going to answer Kristen's question a little bit too, and I think these tie together. I've been trying to find words for it, and I don't really have it yet, but we just saw so many amazing things. And people ask what's the most amazing one, and you can't pick one. There's just so many amazing experiences we had. But overall, where I keep coming back to is what kept grabbing my attention when the lighting was right and we were looking out the window is that I kept seeing this depth to, I guess, the galaxy, for what we were visually observing out there, this depth to the galaxy that I just had never experienced before. And it's not that I could tell which stars were really closer and further, because it has to do with how bright they are, but because of how bright they are and their differences, they look like you can tell where they are in 3D. That was mind-blowing for me. And then you see the same thing with the moon and the Earth. You're viewing them from this new perspective, but this perspective with three-dimensional depth. And I mean, I've heard Christina talk about this a lot. We're all kind of struck by these things that make us feel small. And that the sense I had was this sense of fragility and feeling small, infinitesimally small. But yet, this very powerful feeling as a human being, as a group. And that is what, to me, is what I would try to share. I saw it in all these sites over and over again. I kept seeing that same thing and that same feeling. Small and powerless, but yet powerful together.
Beautiful.
Okay, we'll head over to our phone bridge. Our next question is from Nell Greenfield with NPR.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Tell me about your sleep. Have you been having any dreams of the moon? And if so, what have the dreams been like?
I can take this one. I've got a couple things I can say on that. One, been sleeping great since we got back. We are tired, so I think our bodies were ready to accept any time zone of sleep that we offered it. And what I've noticed, which is completely different from my first flight, and surprisingly so, since my first flight was so long, is every time I've been waking up, or in the first few days, I thought I was floating.
100%.
I truly thought I was floating, and I had to convince myself I wasn't. And even after 328 days in space on my previous mission, I never did the thing where you think something will float in front of you. I've done that on this return for some reason. I put a shirt in the air and it went. It actually surprised me. And so that's been the real thing, which I've welcomed, because space sleep is the best sleep ever. It's so peaceful, it's so comfortable. And to have a little bit of that after our mission was over so quickly has been really special.
Our next question.
I'll just tell a little funny thing, because I think you'll get a kick out of it. I sleep a lot better now because I don't have Reed underneath me kicking me.
Oh, come on.
We should talk about our first night of sleep on the ship, where we were about 8 feet apart in the beds in the med bay, and it felt way too far. That was not okay.
I heard Christina say, hey, can we open up these curtains and pull all the beds together? Because you guys are way too far away.
Way too far away.
Okay, our next question is from Lauren Grush with Bloomberg.
Hi, so good to talk to all of you, and congratulations on a successful mission. Obviously, from our perspective, it's a relatively smooth flight, but there were various moments where sensor readings would indicate an issue. There's also an issue with extra leaking from the valves on the helium pressure system that was brought up a few times. I'm wondering if there were any moments throughout the mission where you felt concerned from a safety standpoint, or did you feel like it was fairly smooth from your perspective?
I might be taking one. Well, I might be a bit more dramatic than some of my crewmates, so usually they do a good job of keeping the boy with a lot of hyperbole grounded. But when you look down at your display and you see 212,000 miles and the miles are increasing, I mean, that your awareness is heightened the whole time. I feel like it was, I was looking at all four of us. I was looking at myself reflecting as well every day, and I was just looking for signs of agitation or signs of stress or signs of anxiety or tension. In fact, I think one day we were in the med kit and we found some medication for that purpose. And we were like, wow, I just can't even imagine taking that. Like we were really good. We were really, really good and really supportive of each other. But you always know in the back of your head that something could go wrong. And I think that just builds a little bit of anxiety. And you're right, we did have, we had some pressure leaking through our PCA assembly, which I'm sure we'll talk more about in post-flight. We had some vent line issues on the toilet that were a little bit problematic for us on the primary vent line. And then we had a few cautions and warnings that came up from time to time. And those they always get your attention. We had a smoke detector go off on the next to last day. I mean, you want to get somebody's attention really quick? Make the fire alarm go off in your spacecraft when you're still about 80,000 miles from home. And that starts off an automated sequence of shutting down the ventilation and the power system. And that was, it was tense. It wasn't scary, but it was tense for a few minutes until we got things reconfigured. But the thing that we drilled into our heads before we launched is no fast hands. Let's evaluate this machine. Let's see what the machine is telling us. Let's see what Houston is telling us. And then let's come to an integrated decision. But nothing had to happen quick. And this machine, I was talking to our program manager last night on the phone for just a minute, Howard Hugh, and there are always things we need to improve. Always. There are ways we need to do better living in space. There's a way this machine needs to be improved. But my own personal opinion, they could put the Artemis II Orion on the Space Launch System tomorrow and launch it, and the crew would be in great shape. So this vehicle really handled very well.
All right, next up, we are going to head over to the Canadian Space Agency for 2 questions.
Yeah, hi, Sarah Levitt from CBC News. Question for Jeremy. I wanted to ask about if you've had a chance to take out the garbage since your wife was griping about chores while you were away. But I have a more serious question. You spoke in your post-splashdown remarks about gratitude, joy, and love. And I know Reed had said that there hasn't been a lot that has sunk in yet, but I wondered if there were other emotions that have come to you since seeing Earth the way you did, since seeing the moon, being the 4 sets of eyes that have only ever seen the far side of the moon.
I think what I've reflected on, and Reed covered it in his opening remarks, is I've found it really refreshing to find out how people have followed the mission and been creative with the mission, and there's lots of funny stuff online, and that really resonates with me a lot. And it just reinforces something I already knew, but humans are just great people in general. We don't always do great things. We're not always in our integrity, but our default is to be good and to be good to one another. And what we saw once we've gotten back, the little bits, I haven't seen a lot yet, but I've seen a bit. And what I've seen has brought me more joy, but more hope for our future. And I just can't wait to see what we do with it next.
Okay, and we should have one more question from CSA.
Hi, my name is Elise Allard. I'm from Radio-Canada, French CBC in Montreal. I have a question for Jeremy Hansen en français. J'aimerais savoir, de quelle façon cette mission-là vous a changé, à la fois psychologiquement, mais aussi physiquement, après tous les tests que vous avez passés? Est-ce que vous avez eu des changements physiques et psychologiques?
Good.
Physical and psychological changes from the mission. Pour moi, les changements physiques, ce n'était pas une grande chose, même en arrivant dans l'espace et après ici sur la Terre. Et ça, c'est une bonne chose. J'étais capable de passer la mission et juste faire mon travail. Alors, c'est une bonne chose, ça. À l'autre côté, ça n'a pas vraiment changé le moyen j'ai vu le monde, nos vies, mais ça a renforcé ça beaucoup. J'ai lancé avec le point de vue que la collaboration pour l'humanité, c'est la prochaine chose qu'on doit continuer à travailler dessus. Et en vue la Terre, de le point de vue de la Lune, ça a renforcé cet but, cet objectif pour l'humanité. Alors j'ai un nouveau désir de travailler avec le monde pour créer ça pour nous. C'est vraiment important pour nous. Et aussi, je veux ajouter, maintenant, c'est évident pour moi qu'il faut que nous prendre des grands risques pour arriver à des grands bénéfices. C'est vraiment évident pour moi. Ça vaut la peine. I was just saying, psychologically, really, sort of what I was talking about before is that it hasn't changed my worldview so much as it's reinforced just the need for us to collaborate on this planet. And like Christina said in her remarks when we got back, I mean, we really are a crew, and that really resonates with us. And you just see it. Seeing is believing.